The mall was alive with energy that Saturday afternoon. Children ran ahead of their parents, tugging at their hands, while the sound of laughter and chatter filled the wide corridors. The aroma of fresh popcorn, warm pretzels, and sweet ice cream floated through the air, tempting anyone who passed by. Families moved slowly, enjoying the day together, and store displays glimmered with colorful signs and decorations. Everything seemed ordinary, calm, and cheerful, but that calm was about to change. Among the crowd, a woman was pushing a stroller with a little girl sitting inside. The girl, perhaps 3 or 4 years old, held her small stuffed rabbit tightly, clutching it like a lifeline. Her eyes were wide, taking in the sights and sounds, but there was something faintly unusual in her behavior. She seemed quieter than most children her age, watching everything with a soft, careful curiosity. Her mother, a young woman in her late 20s, adjusted the blanket over the stroller, smiling at her daughter as they moved along. Not far behind them, a man walked calmly with his service dog at his side. The man was older, with silver hair and a gentle face, dressed neatly in a navy sweater and khaki pants. The dog, a large golden retriever, walked with a steady, confident gait, clearly well-trained. A small harness with a badge reading "Service Dog" rested firmly on the dog's body. People often noticed the dog for its calm demeanor, and it usually drew smiles from shoppers who admired its discipline and friendly presence. At first, everything seemed normal. The woman with the stroller moved past the coffee shop, the dog walked past the clothing stores, and no one paid much attention. Then, without warning, the service dog stopped in its tracks. Its ears perked up and its nose twitched. The dog's eyes focused sharply on the stroller ahead. It let out a soft whine, almost a question, but no one paid much attention. Then the barking started. It began as a short, sharp bark, and then another. Soon it became continuous, insistent, urgent. The golden retriever barked nonstop, circling slightly but never leaving the stroller's side. Its paws scraped lightly against the smooth mall floor as it barked louder, signaling clearly that something was wrong. The man tried to calm the dog, speaking softly. "It's okay, buddy. Calm down." But the dog's reaction only intensified, growling softly under its breath, nudging the stroller with its nose. Shoppers paused. Some stopped walking, staring in confusion. A few whispered to their companions, pointing toward the commotion. Phones were raised as some recorded the unusual scene, while others simply watched in growing concern. The atmosphere shifted from casual mall chatter to tension. Something about the dog's behavior seemed serious, and the crowd felt it instinctively. The mother noticed the barking and looked up, startled. "What's wrong?" she asked nervously, her hand tightening on the stroller handle. Her daughter, oblivious to the dog's warning, looked up at her mother with big, innocent eyes. The little girl's calmness made the mother feel reassured for a moment, but the dog's relentless barking made her uneasy. Is she okay?" she asked, glancing at the child, unsure why the dog was so agitated. The man with the service dog approached carefully, speaking to her gently. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said, his voice calm but serious. "My dog is trained to alert me to potential emergencies. Sometimes it's medical, sometimes danger. Can I check on the child?" His presence and tone were reassuring, but the mother felt a flutter of worry. She nodded hesitantly. The dog's behavior became more intense. It barked louder, circling the stroller with purpose, nudging the side with its nose. Every movement was deliberate. It was clear to everyone watching that this wasn't ordinary barking. Some bystanders began murmuring, "Why is the dog so focused? And is the child in danger?" The tension in the air grew. A few more shoppers gathered around, curious but respectful. No one wanted to interfere, yet everyone could feel the urgency. The mall, usually a place of comfort and leisure, now carried a strange energy, a collective sense of unease. The sounds of the dog barking, the soft murmur of concerned voices, and the faint echo of children playing in the distance mixed into an unusual symphony of tension and anticipation. The little girl, sitting quietly in the stroller, looked at the dog curiously. She didn't cry or seem scared, but her mother noticed she was unusually still, not engaging with the surroundings as she normally would. Her small hand gripped her stuffed rabbit a little tighter, and her breathing seemed slightly shallow. The mother's worry deepened, though she wasn't yet sure what to do. The dog's owner, observing the situation, spoke again softly to the mother. "Dogs like this are trained to detect subtle signs, changes in breathing, heart rate, or even chemicals in the body. They act before humans notice. I think your daughter might need help." His words made the mother's heart race. She looked at her child, searching for signs of distress, but there were no obvious symptoms. She shook her head gently, trying to calm herself. "I think she's fine. I mean, she's breathing normally," she said, though doubt lingered in her tone. Still, the dog would not stop. It barked louder, pacing around the stroller, nudging the side again. Its eyes never left the child. The mall crowd watched silently, the urgency palpable. No one moved too close, but everyone could feel the tension. It was as if the dog was saying, "Notice me. Something is happening here." A security guard arrived, noticing the commotion. "What's going on here?" he asked, looking at the dog and its owner. The man explained calmly, "This is a service dog. It's trained to detect emergencies. Please give it space. It's trying to alert us to something serious." The guard nodded, stepping back, allowing room. Meanwhile, the mother's anxiety grew. She looked at her daughter's face, searching for any clue that something might be wrong. The child seemed peaceful, even unaware of the dog's alarm, but the mother's intuition told her otherwise. She took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the stroller, preparing herself for whatever might come next. Other shoppers whispered among themselves, some taking cautious steps closer, others standing back, unsure if they should intervene. "Do you think the child is sick?" one asked another. "I don't know," came the reply. "But that dog knows something we don't." The dog continued its urgent behavior, barking insistently, circling and pacing, clearly communicating that the situation was important. The crowd's curiosity turned into concern. The mall, filled with normal weekend activity, now seemed like a stage for something critical. Every person there felt the tension, the silent question. What was the dog warning them about? At that moment, a man in the crowd trained in first aid noticed the girl's pale lips and subtle change in her breathing. He stepped forward, his experience telling him to act. "Something is wrong," he muttered under his breath. "We need to get help. Now." The dog's barking had finally drawn attention to the fact that there might be a hidden emergency, one that adults hadn't noticed until now. The service dog barked continuously, never leaving the stroller's side. It was relentless, determined, unwavering in its mission. Shoppers felt a mixture of awe and worry. Some whispered prayers, others held their breath, and all eyes were on the little girl and the vigilant dog. The mother, now fully aware that something might be seriously wrong, felt a wave of fear wash over her. She gripped the stroller tightly, her heart racing, her mind flooded with thoughts of what could happen. She whispered to her daughter, "It's okay, sweetie. We're going to be okay." The dog's owner placed a gentle hand on the dog's harness, murmuring soothing words while keeping the dog focused. The golden retriever's eyes stayed fixed on the child, as if communicating, "Notice me. Don't ignore this. Something needs your attention." The scene was tense, emotional, and full of silent urgency. Around them, the mall's busy hum seemed to fade, replaced by the dog's persistent alert and the growing concern of everyone nearby. It was a moment of silent suspense. Ordinary lives paused, waiting for the next development. All eyes on the stroller, the child, and the service dog that refused to be ignored. And in that moment, it was clear to everyone present, this was no ordinary day at the mall. Something important, something life-changing was about to happen, and the dog knew it. The mall's usual lively chatter seemed to fade as the dog continued barking nonstop. Shoppers stepped back, giving space, yet staying close enough to witness the unusual scene. The little girl in the stroller remained calm, clutching her stuffed rabbit, but her mother could feel something was off. She had a nagging worry that she couldn't shake. She glanced at her daughter's face again and noticed a slight pallor that hadn't been there before. Her heart began to race. The service dog barked louder, pacing in small circles, refusing to be ignored. Its owner, a calm older man, knelt slightly to get closer to the child. "I need to check something," he said gently to the mother. "Dogs like this detect things humans cannot. Your daughter might be showing signs that you don't see." The mother hesitated, unsure if she should let a stranger near her child. But the urgency in the man's voice and the dog's behavior convinced her otherwise. She nodded slowly, stepping back and allowing him to assess the situation. The man carefully approached the stroller and leaned closer, observing the girl. He noticed subtle signs. Her breathing was a little shallow, her cheeks slightly pale, and her lips had a faint bluish tint. She seemed quiet and subdued compared to the lively surroundings. The man's experience and the dog's insistent behavior triggered a deep concern in him. He turned to the mother and spoke calmly but firmly. "She needs help immediately. Something is wrong." The mother's eyes widened, fear and guilt mixing together. I didn't notice anything, she whispered, shaking slightly. Her hands trembled as she held the stroller handle. I thought she was just tired. Or maybe hungry. The man nodded sympathetically. It's easy to miss things. Dogs like this save time, sometimes even lives, by noticing what humans cannot. Meanwhile, the crowd of shoppers grew, forming a semicircle around the stroller. Some held phones. Others whispered among themselves, trying to understand what was happening. A few children clutched their parents' hands, sensing the seriousness of the moment. The mall felt quieter now, as though the busy noise had been replaced by a collective focus on the small child in the stroller and the service dog that would not stop barking. The dog's owner knelt beside the stroller, speaking softly to his dog. Good job. Stay focused. We need them to notice. The dog responded with another insistent bark, nudging the side of the stroller with its nose. It was clear the dog wanted attention on something specific, something subtle yet urgent. Then a man in the crowd who had medical training stepped closer. He crouched to observe the child and noticed the same subtle signs. Her lips were pale and her breathing was slightly irregular. He spoke quietly to the mother. Ma'am, she might be having a medical issue. You should call for help right now. The mother, panic rising in her chest, fumbled for her phone. Her hands shook as she dialed emergency services, trying to stay calm for her daughter. The service dog remained close, its body tense but controlled. It stayed between the child and the rest of the world, barking intermittently but never in a panicked way. Its eyes were fixed, alert, and guiding everyone's attention to the critical situation. The man who owned the dog called mall security over, explaining that there was a potential medical emergency. Security personnel arrived quickly, forming a small perimeter to give space and make room for help to arrive. Minutes felt like hours. The child's mother tried to soothe her daughter, whispering, "Sweetie, it's okay. We're going to get help. You're safe." She brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's face and held the stroller tighter. The little girl looked up at her mother, trusting and calm despite the tension, unaware of how serious the situation had become. The man with the service dog spoke again to the mother, gently explaining the dog's behavior. Dogs are sensitive to small changes in body chemistry. Your daughter's body may be reacting to something she ate, or an allergen we can't see yet. The dog is alerting us before it becomes dangerous. The mother's eyes welled up. I can't believe this. I never realized. Thank you. Thank you so much. Within moments, paramedics arrived, rushing through the mall corridor with their equipment. They were met by the security guard, who quickly explained the situation. The man with the service dog stepped aside but stayed close, keeping the dog calm but attentive. The crowd parted, giving the emergency team space to work. The dog remained at the stroller, alert but surprisingly calm now that trained professionals were present. The paramedics knelt beside the child and began a careful assessment. They checked her pulse, breathing, and skin color. One paramedic noticed a slight swelling in her throat and a faint rash that had been missed by the mother. She's having an allergic reaction, the paramedic said, his voice steady but urgent. He administered epinephrine, the standard treatment for severe allergic reactions, while his colleague prepared an oxygen mask just in case. The child's little body twitched slightly as the medicine began to take effect. Her breathing started to ease and color slowly returned to her cheeks. The mother held her daughter's hand tightly, tears running down her face. "Oh my goodness. Thank you, she whispered repeatedly, hugging her daughter gently as she began to calm down. Shoppers around them watched silently, many wiping tears from their eyes. Some murmured words of gratitude toward the service dog, recognizing that without its alert the situation might have turned tragic before anyone noticed. Children in the crowd whispered to their parents, asking why the dog had been so important. Parents explained quietly that sometimes animals can sense things humans cannot. The dog's owner knelt beside his service dog, praising it softly. "Good job. You saved her," he said quietly. The dog wagged its tail slightly but remained composed, as if understanding the gravity of what had just happened. Its focus had helped everyone stay aware and take immediate action. The paramedics finished their assessment and gently lifted the little girl from the stroller. She clung briefly to her mother but allowed them to move her to a stretcher. The mother, tears still falling, whispered words of comfort, promising she would never let anything happen like this again. The crowd of shoppers watched, moved by the scene of relief, care, and compassion. As the child was transported to the ambulance, the dog remained at the mall floor, calm now, sitting patiently beside its owner. Its mission was complete, and yet it remained composed, ready to assist whenever needed. The mother waved tearfully to the man and the dog, gratitude and awe shining in her eyes. The mall slowly returned to its usual rhythm. The chatter resumed and shoppers walked by, many still glancing at the stroller and the dog, whispering about the incredible events that had just unfolded. The little girl, now stabilized, was safe because of the dog's early warning and the quick action of everyone involved. The man with the service dog walked slowly through the mall, keeping the dog close but relaxed. Shoppers watched them leave with a mixture of admiration and emotion. Conversations broke out among bystanders, all speaking in hushed tones about the importance of service animals and their extraordinary abilities. Some wondered how many lives had been saved quietly, unnoticed, by animals trained to help humans in ways no one could see. The mother, sitting on a nearby bench after ensuring her daughter was safely on her way with the paramedics, reflected on what had just happened. She felt a mix of relief, gratitude, and awe. Her daughter's life had been at risk, yet an unlikely hero, a dog, had sounded the alarm before tragedy could strike. She silently promised herself she would never underestimate the bond between humans and animals, and she would always be attentive to the signs around her child. Even as the day continued, the memory of the dog's persistent barking lingered in the minds of everyone who had witnessed it. It was a reminder of vigilance, compassion, and the quiet heroes who protect us in ways we may never fully understand. And the little girl, unaware of how close she had come to danger, simply clung to her mother's hand, feeling safe and loved, her eyes wide with wonder at the world around her. The service dog had done its job. It had sensed what humans could not, communicated the urgency through persistent and careful alerting, and saved a life. The mall's busy afternoon had turned into a life-changing moment, leaving an indelible impression on everyone present. The importance of awareness, the value of trained animals, and the quick response of those around them had all come together in a remarkable display of care and heroism. Shoppers whispered to one another as the scene settled. "I've never seen anything like it," said one. "That dog really knew something was wrong." Others nodded in agreement, some still wiping tears from their eyes. Children stared in awe at the golden retriever, recognizing a hero in fur. The story would be shared later, retold to friends and family. Remembered for the day a service dog had changed the course of events in a single moment. By the end of the afternoon, the mall had returned to normal, but the impact of the event remained. The mother hugged her daughter tightly, and the dog's owner quietly left, the dog at his side, ready for the next time their vigilance would be needed. Life in the mall carried on, yet everyone present knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. The paramedics worked quickly and calmly, their movements practiced and efficient. They knelt beside the little girl, gently checking her pulse, breathing, and skin color. The mother watched from nearby, holding her breath, unable to move or speak. Her heart pounded in her chest and her mind raced with worry. Every second felt stretched, every heartbeat loud in the tense silence that had settled over the mall. The little girl remained still, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes were wide, staring at the ceiling of the mall as if trying to understand what was happening. She didn't cry, though she was frightened. Her small hand twitched occasionally, holding tight to the toy that gave her comfort. The paramedics noticed subtle signs, slight swelling around her throat, a faint rash starting to appear on her arms, and shallow breathing. It was clear she was experiencing a serious allergic reaction, something that could become life-threatening if not treated immediately. One paramedic administered an epinephrine injection, while another monitored her breathing and oxygen levels. They worked quickly but gently, talking to the child in soft, comforting tones. "You're okay, sweetheart," one said, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "We're going to make sure you feel better. You're safe now." The little girl looked up at him, her eyes blinking in confusion but slowly relaxing as she realized the adults around her were helping. The mother's hands shook as she reached out to touch her daughter's arm. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't see it." Tears ran down her cheeks, but the paramedics reassured her that it was not her fault. "You did everything right by calling for help," one said. "And that dog, it saved your daughter's life." The mother looked at the golden retriever sitting patiently nearby, its harness still on, its eyes calm but alert. She couldn't believe how a dog had sensed what she had missed. Gratitude and awe filled her heart. The service dog's owner stood beside the paramedics, watching closely. He gently patted the dog's back, murmuring, "Good job. Very good job." The dog's tail wagged slightly, but it remained composed as if understanding that its job was done. But the situation still required attention. It had alerted everyone before the little girl's condition became critical. Its persistent barking and circling had drawn the attention of trained adults in time to prevent a tragedy. Shoppers who had gathered around watched silently. Some had tears in their eyes. Others whispered to one another about how remarkable the dog's instincts were. A few clutched their children a little tighter, realizing how easily an emergency could go unnoticed. The atmosphere was heavy with emotion, but also relief. People around them realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. An ordinary afternoon turned into a story of life-saving vigilance and compassion. The paramedics checked the little girl's vital signs again. Her pulse was steadier, her breathing more regular, and the swelling around her throat began to decrease. The rash on her arms faded slightly as the medicine took effect. Slowly, her small body relaxed and the tension in her mother's shoulders eased a little. The mother leaned closer, hugging her daughter gently. "You're safe now," she whispered repeatedly, pressing her lips to the top of her daughter's head. "It's okay, sweetheart. It's all okay." One paramedic knelt to speak directly to the mother. "Your daughter responded well to the treatment," he said, "but she needs to be monitored at the hospital for a little while, just to make sure the reaction doesn't return. You acted quickly, and that dog's alert made all the difference. Without it, we might not have seen her symptoms in time." The mother's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. She looked down at the golden retriever, its calm gaze meeting hers. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice breaking. "Thank you for saving her life." The crowd around them was quiet, many still holding their phones down, realizing that this was not just an unusual event, but a moment of heroism. Some shoppers whispered among themselves, "I've never seen anything like this. That dog really knew something was wrong." Others nodded, their eyes moist, touched by the silent teamwork between humans and animals that had prevented a tragedy. As the paramedics prepared to move the child, they gently lifted her into a stretcher. She held onto her mother's hand tightly, unwilling to let go. The mother leaned over, whispering words of comfort. "I'm right here, sweetie. Everything will be fine." The little girl looked up at her mother's face, her wide eyes beginning to show trust and relief. The service dog stayed near the stroller until the child was safely on the stretcher, then remained calm at its owner's side. It had completed its alert but still understood the importance of being present. The mall returned to a hushed normalcy, the earlier tension giving way to whispers and soft chatter. People moved on slowly, some shaking their heads in disbelief at what had just occurred. The paramedics wheeled the stretcher toward the ambulance parked just outside the mall. The mother walked beside them, holding her daughter's hand when possible, but mostly following closely behind. Her heart still pounded and tears continued to flow freely. She couldn't stop thinking about how close her daughter had come to danger, and how the dog had been the first to notice. She felt a deep sense of gratitude toward both the dog and its owner. Once the little girl was safely inside the ambulance, the paramedics reassured the mother. "She's going to be fine," one said. "We'll monitor her at the hospital, and she should make a full recovery. You did everything right by calling for help and staying calm." The mother nodded, wiping her tears. She looked back at the mall, seeing shoppers still standing and watching, their expressions a mixture of relief and admiration. The dog's owner walked calmly with his service dog, heading toward the exit of the mall. The dog's harness gleamed under the bright lights, a symbol of discipline and training. Shoppers watched them go, some waving silently, others whispering words of thanks. Children stared with awe at the dog, recognizing a hero in its gentle, intelligent eyes. The man and his dog had acted without hesitation, their teamwork and training saving a young life in a crowded, ordinary place. Back inside the mall, people began to speak softly among themselves. Many discussed the importance of service animals and the incredible instincts they possess. Parents held their children close, grateful that someone had acted in time. The story of the day, a routine shopping trip turned into a life-saving event, began to spread quietly among the crowd. A tale of heroism, alertness, and care. The mother, Sitting on a bench near the exit, took a deep breath and let herself feel relief. Her daughter had been saved and she was safe. She couldn't stop thinking about how quickly things could have gone wrong. She looked at the small stuffed rabbit clutched in her daughter's hand and smiled through her tears. That simple toy, the dog, the quick response of trained adults, everything had come together perfectly to prevent disaster. The paramedics prepared the ambulance for transport, checking all equipment and ensuring the little girl was comfortable. They gave the mother instructions explaining that she could ride with her daughter to the hospital. She nodded, still overwhelmed with emotion but grateful that she could be by her daughter's side. The mall's atmosphere slowly returned to normal, but the memory of the golden retriever's persistent alert and the tense moments of fear lingered with everyone who had witnessed the event. As the ambulance drove away, the mother whispered to her daughter, "See? You're safe. Everything is okay now. You're okay." The little girl, exhausted from the sudden scare, clung tightly to her mother. She didn't fully understand what had happened but felt the love and reassurance from her mother. And that was enough for her small heart. The dog's owner returned to his car with his service dog, both calm but alert. He patted the dog on the back and murmured, "Good job, buddy. You did it. You saved her." The dog wagged its tail slightly but remained composed. It was used to saving lives in subtle ways, always aware, always ready. This time, its alert had prevented a potential tragedy in a busy, crowded mall. The day continued for everyone else in the mall, but the experience left a lasting impression. People whispered stories to friends and family about the golden retriever who had barked nonstop, the alert that saved a little girl's life, and the calm, capable adults who acted quickly. It was a reminder that sometimes heroes come in unexpected forms, sometimes on four legs, with keen instincts and training that make all the difference. Even as shoppers returned to their routines, the importance of vigilance, care, and gratitude remained. For the mother, the lesson was clear. Pay attention, trust instincts, and be grateful for the helpers in our lives, both human and animal. She hugged her daughter tighter, promising silently to always be watchful and appreciative of the small things that can mean the difference between danger and safety. And so, the day that had started like any ordinary Saturday became unforgettable. A life had been saved, a service dog had performed its duty with remarkable precision, and a community of witnesses had shared a rare, emotional moment that reminded them of the power of care, alertness, and compassion. By the time the ambulance left, the mall had settled back into its usual rhythm, yet the emotional atmosphere lingered. Shoppers walked slowly, glancing around and whispering to one another, still processing what they had just witnessed. The scene of the service dog barking nonstop at the stroller and the paramedics rushing in had left a deep impression on everyone present. People were quietly reflecting on the small but extraordinary moment they had been part of, a moment that had saved a little girl's life. The mother sat on a bench near the food court, her daughter now safely inside the ambulance under the paramedics' watchful care. She hugged herself tightly, tears running down her cheeks as relief and gratitude flooded through her. She couldn't stop thinking about how close she had come to losing her child, and how the dog's persistent alert had changed everything. Her heart was heavy with emotion and yet light with hope. Around her, shoppers began to share their observations and feelings. "Did you see that dog?" one woman whispered to her friend. "It knew something was wrong before anyone else did. It's incredible." A man nodded solemnly. "I've seen service dogs before, but never like this." It was as if the dog was speaking to us all, telling us to pay attention. Children who had watched the event were quiet, sensing the seriousness of the moment, even if they didn't fully understand it. They clutched their parents' hands, eyes wide in awe. The service dog's owner stayed nearby, watching the mother from a respectful distance. He gently patted the dog on the head, murmuring, "Good job, buddy. You did exactly what you were trained to do." The dog wagged its tail slightly but remained composed, its eyes alert and intelligent. It seemed to understand the gravity of the moment, proud of its role but calm and disciplined. The crowd that had gathered slowly began to disperse, though many could not help stealing glances at the dog and its owner as they moved away. The mother's mind replayed every moment, every detail. She remembered the first bark, how the dog had circled the stroller, nudged it with its nose, and refused to leave her daughter's side. She thought about the man who had calmly explained the dog's behavior, and how the paramedics had arrived just in time. She realized that without the dog, Without the training and instincts it possessed, she might not have noticed her daughter's allergic reaction until it was too late. She felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for the dog, but for everyone who had acted quickly to help. Mall security had returned to their posts, but several officers lingered nearby, speaking quietly about the event. They were impressed by the dog's behavior and the calm coordination of everyone involved. One officer said to another, "I've never seen anything like it. That dog probably saved her life today." The other nodded, adding, "It's amazing how animals can sense things we can't. We should make sure everyone knows how important service dogs are." The little girl's mother, still seated on the bench, spoke quietly to herself. "I need to remember this. I need to tell everyone how important it is to pay attention, to notice the signs, and to appreciate the help we sometimes don't see coming." She thought about how ordinary life could change in a moment, and how gratitude for small acts like a dog doing its job could be life-changing. Meanwhile, other shoppers began to approach the mother, offering kind words and support. "You did the right thing," a woman said softly. "It's amazing how the dog helped you notice what was happening. You should be proud of how calm you stayed." Another person added, "I've never seen a dog like that. It's a hero." The mother smiled through her tears, overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers and the sense of community that had formed in those tense moments. The mall manager, having heard of the event, approached and spoke to the mother and the dog's owner. "This is truly remarkable," he said. "We're going to make sure everyone knows about what happened today. Your dog, sir, deserves recognition, and you, ma'am, for staying calm and acting quickly. You saved your daughter." The mother thanked him, feeling a mix of pride and humility. She realized that, in that moment, a small act of vigilance and quick action had brought together a community of strangers, all working knowingly or unknowingly to protect a child. The little girl, still unaware of how close she had come to danger, clutched her stuffed rabbit in the ambulance, feeling safe in her mother's arms. She had experienced fear without understanding it, but now the sense of security her mother provided allowed her to relax. The mother whispered to her daughter, "Everything is okay now. You're safe, my love, safe and sound." The little girl blinked and nodded, resting her head against her mother's shoulder. Back in the mall, the service dog's presence had left a lasting impression. Shoppers discussed the dog's incredible instincts and how it had sensed danger before any human could. Some parents whispered lessons to their own children, teaching them to respect and appreciate animals, especially those trained to help humans in ways that often go unnoticed. The day had turned into more than just a shopping trip. It had become a lesson in awareness, compassion, and the value of service animals. As the mother prepared to leave the mall and follow the ambulance to the hospital, she paused to take one last look at the place where it all had happened. The usual buzz of shoppers, the scent of food courts, and the bright lights of the stores were all there, yet the memory of the dog's barking and the paramedics' quick arrival made everything feel different. It was a day she would never forget, a day that had changed her perspective on life, vigilance, and gratitude. The dog's owner walked with the golden retriever toward the parking lot, maintaining a calm and steady pace. He patted the dog's head again, whispering softly, "You did good today." "Very good." The dog's tail wagged lightly, a quiet acknowledgement of its role. It had fulfilled its purpose with precision and care, alerting everyone in time to prevent a tragedy. People in the mall paused to watch them leave, some offering smiles and nods of respect, recognizing the unique heroism of the dog and its owner. Later, the mall decided to honor the service dog and its owner. A small event was organized to educate shoppers about the importance of service animals and the training required for them to perform life-saving duties. Posters and displays highlighted the story of the little girl and the dog, showing how instinct, training, and human compassion had come together to create a remarkable outcome. The mother and her daughter were invited to speak, sharing their gratitude and explaining how the dog's alert had saved her daughter's life. The community responded with overwhelming support. People came to learn about service dogs, volunteering, and donating to programs that trained animals for critical roles. Children were inspired, asking questions and sharing their admiration for the four-legged heroes. The little girl, now safe and smiling, held her mother's hand tightly as she watched the dog being recognized. Though she didn't fully understand what had happened, she felt the love and care surrounding her. sensing the gratitude and admiration of everyone present. For the mother, the lessons were clear and lasting. She had learned to pay closer attention to subtle signs in her child, to trust instincts and alerts from trained professionals, and to appreciate the value of service animals. She hugged her daughter tightly, promising silently that she would always be vigilant, aware, and grateful for the help and protection of those who watch over her family. The mall itself carried a quiet sense of pride in the days that followed. Staff and shoppers alike often referenced the story of the golden retriever who had barked nonstop, the little girl saved from danger, and the quick thinking of everyone involved. It became a story of heroism, awareness, and compassion, a reminder that even ordinary places can witness extraordinary events and that sometimes the smallest signals can make the biggest difference. The mother and daughter returned home from the hospital later that day, safe and sound. The mother's heart was full of gratitude for the dog, the owner, the paramedics, and the strangers who had helped. She knew she would never forget the day a service dog's insistence had changed everything, reminding her of the power of awareness, compassion, and quick action. As the sun set, casting a warm glow across the city, the mother tucked her daughter into bed. The little girl clutched her stuffed rabbit, now tired but safe, her breathing calm and steady. The mother whispered softly, "You're safe now. Safe because of so many people who care. Always remember that love and care can come in many forms, even from a dog." She kissed her daughter's forehead and left the room, her heart lighter, yet filled with a deep appreciation for the extraordinary events of the day. The service dog returned to its usual routine with its owner, walking calmly, alert and disciplined, ready for the next moment when its instincts and training might be needed. Its actions had made a lasting impact on a family, a community, and everyone who had witnessed the extraordinary scene that day. Shoppers, staff, and the family alike would carry the memory of that afternoon for a lifetime. A reminder that sometimes heroes come with fur and paws, guided by training, love, and an unwavering instinct to protect, and for one little girl, that hero had saved her life. The little girl was now safe at home, snuggled under her soft blankets, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. Her breathing was calm, steady, and full of relief, though she didn't fully understand how close she had come to danger. The mother sat nearby, holding a cup of tea, her mind still racing with gratitude and reflection. The events of the mall, from the service dog's insistent barking to the swift response of paramedics, replayed vividly in her memory. Every detail reminded her of how extraordinary that day had been. Even hours later, the mother's heart was heavy with emotion. She kept thinking about the service dog, its alertness, and the calm authority of its owner. The dog's instincts had been perfect, sensing the danger before any human could. She realized that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. A dog, trained and disciplined, had become the unseen guardian of her child, guiding adults to notice what she herself had overlooked. Gratitude washed over her, almost overwhelming in its intensity. She remembered the moments in the mall, the dog circling the stroller, nudging it with its nose, barking insistently while keeping calm, the paramedics arriving and immediately recognizing the allergic reaction, the little girl's pale face slowly regaining color under the careful treatment. Each memory was a reminder of how quickly a routine afternoon could turn into a life-changing event. The mother reflected on her own reactions as well. She had been frightened, anxious, and unsure, but she had listened. She had allowed the man with the service dog to approach, and she had called emergency services as advised. Her calmness under pressure had made a difference, and she realized that sometimes being observant and open to help can save lives. It was a lesson she would never forget. Outside the home, the story of the mall incident began to spread. Friends, family, and neighbors who heard about it expressed awe and admiration. "I can't believe that dog saved her life," one friend said on the phone. "It's like a little miracle," another added. "It shows how important service animals are and how we should respect their training and instincts." The mother listened to each conversation, her heart swelling with gratitude. She wanted to share the story not for praise, but so others could understand the incredible impact animals can have on human lives. Meanwhile, the service dog and its owner had returned to their daily routine. The dog, calm but alert, walked faithfully by the owner's side. For the dog, it was another day, another mission completed successfully. But for everyone who witnessed the event, it was unforgettable. The golden retriever's intelligence, intuition, and calm determination had saved a young life, and that simple fact had touched the hearts of dozens of people who had been present. Back at the mall, the staff reflected on what had happened. The mall manager gathered his team to discuss the events of the day. "We were all witnesses to something extraordinary," he said. A service dog's instincts combined with quick thinking from the mother and the paramedics prevented a tragedy. This is a story we should share not to glorify anyone, but to remind everyone of the importance of awareness, care, and compassion. Staff members nodded, many still moved by the memory of the little girl's rescue. The mother, now calmer but still deeply emotional, decided to write a letter of thanks to the dog's owner. She described the little girl's condition, the dog's alert, and the prompt response of the paramedics. She wanted the owner to know just how much their dog's actions had meant, how it had prevented a potentially devastating situation. She poured her gratitude into every word, expressing awe at the dog's abilities and deep appreciation for its training and dedication. Days passed, and life slowly returned to normal, yet the memory of that afternoon stayed alive. The mother often told the little girl in gentle, simple words about the brave dog who had saved her. Though the child was too young to fully understand, she could sense the admiration and love her mother felt. She began to recognize the dog in pictures and books, learning quietly that some heroes wear fur and have keen senses that humans cannot match. The community also began to take notice. Local news outlets shared the story, highlighting the importance of service animals, quick thinking, and community awareness. People learned about the dog's training and the critical role animals play in detecting emergencies. Parents, inspired by the story, talked to their children about paying attention, being cautious, and appreciating animals' contributions to human safety. It became a teaching moment for the entire neighborhood, emphasizing vigilance, empathy, and respect for trained animals. The mall decided to honor the service dog with a small event. Shoppers, staff, and local families were invited to learn about the incredible abilities of service animals. Posters and displays detailed the day's events, showing how the golden retriever had saved the little girl's life. Children asked questions, wide-eyed with curiosity, while adults nodded in understanding, realizing how much trust, training, and instinct went into the work these animals performed. The dog and its owner were celebrated quietly, recognized for their quiet heroism that had made a lasting impact on a family and the community. The mother, attending the event with her daughter, felt a deep sense of closure and gratitude. She hugged the dog gently, whispering, "Thank you for saving my little girl." She explained to her daughter in simple words how the dog had helped her, fostering a sense of wonder, respect, and compassion. The little girl, still holding her stuffed rabbit, looked up at the golden retriever, sensing something extraordinary about it even without fully understanding. Reflecting on the experience, the mother realized that life can change in a single moment. Ordinary places like a busy mall can become stages for extraordinary acts. She understood that vigilance, compassion, and quick action could prevent tragedy, and that heroes sometimes come in unexpected forms, like a golden retriever with training, intuition, and a heart dedicated to helping others. The mother also felt a new appreciation for community. Strangers had watched, stayed calm, and given space when needed. Paramedics had acted swiftly. Mall staff had helped maintain order, and the dog's owner had trusted his animal's instincts. It was a reminder that people working together, guided by compassion and awareness, could accomplish remarkable things. Even weeks later, the mother often thought about the day at the mall. She would tell her daughter stories not just about the dog, but about how small acts of attention, kindness, and vigilance could make a difference. She taught her daughter to notice details, to listen to warnings, and to appreciate animals and people who help others in unseen ways. The experience became a lesson woven into daily life, a story of courage, awareness, and love that shaped the little girl's understanding of the world. The golden retriever, meanwhile, continued its duties, calm, disciplined, and always attentive. Its work went mostly unnoticed by the wider world, but for the mother and her daughter it was unforgettable. Every wag of its tail, every focused glance, every gentle bark had mattered in a life-or-death moment. The dog's instincts had bridged the gap between danger and safety, teaching humans the value of attentiveness, care, and readiness. The mother often looked at her daughter sleeping peacefully, feeling a wave of gratitude she could hardly put into words. She silently thanked everyone involved, The dog, its owner, the paramedics, the shoppers, and even the unseen network of people who made the environment safe. Life had been preserved, a child's innocence protected, and a mother's heart reassured. It was a story that would live with her forever. The story of the service dog and the little girl became more than just an event in a mall. It became a lesson in compassion, vigilance, and the extraordinary potential of ordinary moments. For the mother, it was a reminder that gratitude could be as important as action. For the daughter, it was a quiet introduction to the heroes in the world, both human and animal. For the community, it became a tale to be remembered, retold, and shared as inspiration for attentiveness, empathy, and kindness. And so, life moved forward. The little girl grew, carrying with her the memory of being saved in a moment she didn't fully understand. The mother remained vigilant but less anxious, knowing that help could come in many forms, sometimes from places and beings unexpected. The golden retriever returned to its calm, attentive routine, ready for the next call, the next alert, the next life it might touch. And everyone involved carried with them the memory of an afternoon when a dog's persistent bark saved a life, leaving hearts full of gratitude and eyes damp with tears of relief. In the quiet moments, the mother would whisper to her daughter, "Remember, heroes come in many forms. Sometimes they walk on four legs, and sometimes they are the people who listen, notice, and act with care. Today you were surrounded by heroes, and you are safe because of them." The little girl would smile sleepily, still holding her stuffed rabbit, feeling comforted, loved, and protected. That day remained a touchstone in their lives, a story of courage, instinct, community, and gratitude. It was a day that reminded everyone who heard about it that vigilance, compassion, and attention could prevent tragedy, and that sometimes the smallest signals, a bark, a glance, a gentle nudge, could save a life. The service dog had performed its duty with excellence, leaving a lasting impact on a family, a commune, and everyone who had witnessed the extraordinary events of that afternoon.